Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GT podcast, back for episode 16. And this episode is going to be about the treatment of video game employees at the companies, where lately they've been getting mistreated a lot, and they've been through sexual misconduct and a lot of crunch time, especially in the past 2 years with COVID. Many developers have really crunched down on the employees, forcing them to work 40 plus hours and doing a lot of unethical things for the sake of creating a new game. Like the most recently, the biggest one is Activision and Blizzard. What happened with the whole lawsuit, and it's just been going down, went downhill for them so bad. And now they've been bought out by Microsoft, right? They bought, how much to
Mhm.
buy them up for? Oh, we said it last time. It was like 4 billion.
Microsoft bought
It,
them.
it's pretty much for like probably the highest price you'll probably see on in the terms of buying at a company ever,
Didn't they
at
buy
least at
it
the
for like
moment.
7 billion?
Yeah,
It's for something
I think
ridiculous.
that's what we
Insane.
it was something like that we said. I don't remember exactly, but I know it
Yeah,
was
I don't remember
absurd.
exactly. Basically, they just bought out the whole company in a sense, just to like get it over with.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a good thing in a sense, and hopefully, like now that like they're underneath a company like Microsoft, they can kind of take the reins from them after like a 2 year period. I think once they kind of like finish out some stuff within the company internally, and then they can kind of just like get to work on it there.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back on to like the whole thing with Activision Blizzard kind of be before even Activision Blizzard in the sense because it was just Blizzard originally
Yeah.
in the first place.
And then
Um,
Activision merged with them, right?
yeah, Activision kind of ruined it with a lot of other things going down the line. But before then, it was even just like Blizzard itself, and just that it was like the gaming industry predominantly was very male, um, like led, and you can kind of see that in terms of like what happened with Blizzard, especially like these guys being like
They
the
were
WoW developers and such, and like I guess from like how successful the game was when everything went like just perfect for them, right? It kind of like snowballed for there, and then given the time that it was when these things happen, actually, that's now in this lawsuit that they brought up with the Activision Blizzard case. Um, but I think Paul, you would know more about that than I would because you had more chance to take a look at this.
Yeah, like the whole case, the major
Mhm.
three things that they went off about was sexual misconduct with all the pretty much almost every male there at the company was doing towards the females of the company, and then it went on to everyone treating each other like a frat, basically a fraternity, like stereotypical high like a college fraternity where they would haze each other, haze the women, and have them basically be quote unquote entertainment for them. Where
Didn't they attempt to stop the unionization and threaten them?
yeah, that was another thing. Like after
Yeah,
the lawsuit went through, they were trying to unionize because that'd be a pretty fair reason to unionize after all this stuff happened. So they were gonna say, okay, we'll unionize whatever, and literally they said there will be consequences for unionizing or something like that. But it's in I remember we've talked about it before with one of our law friends in the law school. He said like that's against a major law where a company cannot threaten employees for unionizing. I,
Yeah,
I don't know exactly what the law is, but I know it was something like that.
you're not
well,
allowed to.
I mean, essentially, just not allowing your like a creation of a union within a private company, just to like give your workers like essentially the rights that they would need, is kind of like illegal in a sense. So,
Yeah.
being that the higher ups of Blizzard would be saying this is kind of like sickening in a sense,
Especially
or not.
after everything that happened, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's just the Blizzard people on their side. This also might be considered on the Activision Blizzard side as well, with
Yeah.
things.
I
But
wouldn't be
like the Blizzard
surprised.
side is completely different. I feel like because it was never Activision Blizzard until maybe later down the line when they got bought out by them. But originally being that it was just Blizzard,
True.
and this was definitely after like a couple like expansions of WoW being like a very successful game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, this being the case of the 2013 BlizzCon that they had, where and this is like the reference in the lawsuit against Activision Blizzard, or probably just Blizzard in this case, with the Bill Cosby suite being a part of the the case itself,
Yeah.
in which like
It was
the
a bunch,
whole
bunch of
it was
guys, right?
basically just a bunch of the like the upper members of Blizzard, and they essentially were fraternizing amongst themselves and kind of like I want to say like kind of like sexualizing these women in a
Yeah,
sense, to the
'cause
point that like it's very like weird and like it's really creepy, and looking at it nowadays,
like
it's just like
unethical. Yeah.
it's just like very like
Like
sexually discriminating, and it's just really sickening.
I don't know if we want to quote the whole thing because might get us in trouble on YouTube.
I mean,
But
I won't quote it, but we just gave essentially the right things. But you have things like they'll say like them like talking about how one guy was like, you can't marry all of them, and or it's the I'm gathering the hot chicks for the cause. That was, but it's like, yeah, but it's not like chicks with it's not like like a CHICK. It's CHIXX. So
what?
so and then you got them like cursing in their thing, like you misspelled, and then it's like just a curse word just randomly. They're at like some bar, basically like these girls. This might have just been like to the point like where these girls were pretty much like peer pressured into probably doing things with these guys, and it's kind of sad
Yeah.
how like these men treated the women in this case at the Cosby suite that they had at this BlizzCon. And not only just that, but like even the fact of what Bill Cosby became too,
Yeah.
as like a fixture of like sexualization,
Sexual
which
assault, sexual
yeah, and
other
yeah,
things. Can't say that on YouTube.
but it was just a very over sexualized like situation of how things went. And even there's like a picture of every single person in this group of people that was there, and they all were like taking a pic. All the male employees were taking a picture
And they
with like this
like
giant
a
image of
literal
Cosby.
image of Cosby, like a shrine.
Yeah, it essentially being just a glorification of like this one human being, which is really
Clearly doesn't deserve it
bad.
for.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
really does not deserve it. Yeah, and it sucks, because they used to be a good company, but like now it's like they've definitely like
They've
gone from
lost
their roots.
lost it.
Or they've just like kind of seen themselves in a sense of like they've really like hit like the high glory of it. We're probably working in probably what was like the best company at the time
Yeah.
for gaming, and then it just got out of hand.
I think one major part about it is that because they were all made during like the early time of games, like early 90s, early 2000s, they were hired and there was no really women in the workplace for them because it was still new. That once they got so powerful, because World of Warcraft and everything got so popular, they got so much money, they probably had the idea like, oh yeah, we're unstoppable, no one can touch us, we're like one of the biggest companies or something like that. So that became so bad to the point they were like, yeah, we're gonna do all these horrible things like it's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, but that's also this is like a time where like inclusion and like equal work rights and just like diversity within the workspace weren't really
They weren't like well spread.
major within the corporate like culture. So nowadays you see that, but back then this barely even existed, and I don't even know when exactly it probably started kicking up. But I would say within probably the past maybe give or take 7, 6, 5 years, something like that. This has been kind of growing in the case of these of like current companies that are like actually successful. But this is just what happened for like its time, and just things really do change.
Yeah.
It's drastic how much 7 years can really change a company, and just to make it worse.
Yeah, not even just that, just the people in the company too. Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know what?
Company, yeah, that really like ruined my perception of like, should I invest in like, I don't know.
It's not
I'm
worth
just
it.
really turned off. Even if Microsoft bought it, I just don't want to be involved in that. I don't support it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could change because they were bought out, but honestly, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another thing with this too is that they're not removing the people; they're just suing the company itself. Like they're still there, from what I know. From what I know, I don't think they've had released.
Right.
They haven't released anything saying like, oh yeah, all those people are now fired and we're hiring all these new people. So for all
Well,
we
you
know,
know,
that they're all still there unless like the CEO of, excuse me, CEO of
Well, I
Microsoft,
believe that
Phil
he's
Spencer,
being
fires them all.
fired.
I'm pretty well. I mean, in the case with Activision Blizzard CEO, I'm pretty sure he stepped down from the company.
Yeah, he stepped
I'm-
down after
So,
that.
being that's the case, it just kind of shows you where like things are going in a sense, where he just doesn't want to be the face of the blame anymore. Probably even more so that he might have been part of the blame itself,
Yeah.
and he has to like. In reality, like in terms of his career, like he just has to stand down and just kind of get out of it, and probably like
To move
people
on.
will. I mean, I would imagine there's probably people who still want to hire him out there, but like not within like reasonable like doubts within like maybe the next like, year or so. Honestly, I don't even know how old he is, but like he might actually just be like straight up fully into the retirement. But this is also still the case with a lot of these company CEOs and these big higher ups, where like they have huge amounts of income streams that actually come to them from being these like heads of the corporations themselves, and usually a lot of these like workers will end up being like unpaid or just like overworked in the case though too, and then like CEOs are taking like the major cuts out of like big block, like these big sellouts when it comes to like the game launches and such, and just the titles at the companies.
Like especially.
I remember. I think like with WoW is definitely the case. With one of the like this is like one of those type of games. Like every expansion, like they're all like they get like a very big like large increase in sales within the company, and then just like overall in terms of like their ROI, like the investments that come into them just through like like a steady flow of cash stream from these consumers is just like it's just it's pretty like substantial in the case of how it goes. But like recently, like within like the past year, it seemed or like two, it seems to be like that like Blizzard like it's the numbers have like dropped, especially with like WoW subscriptions. It's like 50% of what
Yeah.
it used to be. So like it's never gonna probably be the same ever again, at least for now, until things like kind of brighten up for the company in the future of it. But like in a sense though too, it's like everyone's like kind of realized like if we can't support a company like this, so that's why everyone's kind of moving and trying to find new games that are like the flavor of the month. That's why everyone's like playing Lost Ark right now. There's like 1 million people on it like on a daily.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of like how things are going at the moment. And with at least in this case, that would be the time being. And maybe WoW, like when WoW comes out with the next expansion, I guarantee people will jump out back onto it, trying to find a new source of content to play through. But until that time kind of happens, most people are kind of stuck with like
Lost
what's
Ark
really
and others
currently
that
out
like
there.
Final Fantasy.
Yeah, Final
too, right?
Fantasy. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of games that have been out. Like, if you're really looking for something to spice up your fantasy or like whatever the case might be, in terms of like your genre, um, like we just had Elden Ring come out. It's like a week ago or two. It was Warhammer 3.
Yeah.
Even though it's kind of had like a really awful launch in a sense, just because of like the computer issues that people have with it. And then like before that, Lost Ark. So like there's lots of like interesting games out there. It's just more or less just like what people want to do. I know like today, like I guarantee like for like this month, Elden Ring will be really huge, and then it will probably like slowly start to dip off. But that's just how like that game kind of goes. But it's
Yeah.
alright.
Okay, so another companies where they've been treating employees not like unwell was Naughty Dog was the biggest one for a while.
The
With
Last of Us 2.
yeah, that was huge back then because there were literally people getting hospitalized, like actually
Yeah.
hospitalized over it. Because I remember one day I was just scrolling through Twitter and I saw, like I was hearing everyone talking about the story because that was also like someone from within literally leaked the whole story because they were treating him so bad that they just had enough and they just threw it out there for everyone to see. And then what else happened if I remember correctly? So then this guy he was a story animator. I remember. I had his name written down somewhere. I forgot his full name. I think his name's like Daniel or something. I don't remember, but I know he was an animator for it. And then he was literally saying that they were treating him so bad to the point that he had a friend that got hospitalized because they were working 45 plus weeks, and combined with the terrible conditions they were working in, like someone said they were literally working with construction going on in the background where it was potentially dangerous for something to get hit with stuff while they're just trying to work on their computers. And then there's what else? Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find his tweet. Yeah, he went more into detail on his Twitter. If you could find it.
Right.
But yeah, it was pretty bad.
It sounds really bad, right? But when did this game come out? I'm just curious. This came out during COVID, or
it came out during like
the start of COVID, or like midway?
May 2020 or July? I don't remember where it got delayed.
Okay, but so it was like it's like kind of like early middle of the year.
Yeah.
And they, I mean, you know what? How many times did this game get delayed? Because like I feel like that's gonna be like such a major point. Like probably gets brought up, right? Where like they have to they're trying to push out a product, right? Because I imagine like internally like the investors who put their money into a company like Naughty Dog, and they want Naughty Dog to pump out a game, right? Because they probably need like the stream of cash to kind of come in and then kind of like save them, and just so that way the investors are happy. But then you kind of release a game and your audience is like you know, granted, like leading up to the days like before it got released, and then like this guy drops the like the leak of the script for the game, right? Which is kind of like like the fact that they even just leaked, like it just goes to show you like that there's so many like bad things happening within these companies and people don't even talk about it.
Yeah.
And
it just gets to the point that they don't care. They'll do whatever it takes to bring them down.
Did that guy did he get fired though from Naughty Dog after doing?
No one ever found out who it actually was. At least not that I know of.
You know what? That's probably for the better. Wait, but how do you say that no one found out, but the guy's name was Daniel?
No. Daniel was a different guy. He was a guy who quit because he was getting treated awful.
Oh, but then
a different guy who was on the writing team, I believe. He leaked it all because he had enough and he just leaked it.
Leaked the entire game?
The entire game was leaked. The entire story was leaked.
Oh, that's what happened? That's why it was out like a few days before?
The entire script went out.
Now that guy got fired, I'm imagining, right? Yes or no?
Well, we don't know who it was, so we don't know. We never knew who he was. So for what we assume, he most likely quit after that because he has no reason to stay.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I would imagine it's probably the right thing for you to do, especially, and then like they just cracked down on Naughty Dog, and then here we are, right? Yeah. They had their lawsuit, correct?
They did have they never had a lawsuit over that, but they did have a lawsuit before that. I remember it was about, I'm not sure if it was a CEO or someone. It was someone on the higher ups that supposedly was being accused of sexual misconduct within the workplace.
It's so sad. I mean, you know, it just goes to show you that like these higher ups, they think like being so high up in a company really does make you like, I guess like there must be like some kind of like power like driven going through them that kind of like really thinks that they're invincible in the case. And like, I mean, in a sense, like it's really scary too. It's like, all right, like if you don't do these things, like I'm gonna fire you, like, and
like they can literally make their job as miserable as they want because they are the ones in power.
And it's kind of sad with this being the case. There's not really much that people can do. I mean, honestly, I feel like just for people knowing like that they can be like much better than them and they just know their worth, they just end up quitting though. It's like kind of like, I feel like the right choice in a sense.
Yeah.
Just, you know what? And I give them like my highest like
respects and everything.
Respects, yeah. Just because they literally have to be strong enough to like know that their families and like their loved ones are gonna have to like deal with these issues and financially at least, and then just to move on from it. But I feel like though too, there's so many different there's so many companies out there that have such high positions that like are available for these people.
Yeah.
So I'm not
'Cause
surprised.
they
that
didn't
can
get picked
find
up.
better
I
work.
remember the guy I was talking about that with his friend or whatever that was mentioned he got terrible treatment and got hospitalized over it. He did leave and he got, I think, he got part of a movie company maybe, if I'm correct. But I know he did get a
Okay.
good job. Like he ended up going to a good place afterwards. So these people
Right,
aren't
right.
being forgotten.
I
That
mean, you
being
know what? Their work. You know what? It's not that they're being forgotten. It's more or less their work is being utilized in a much better place than where
yeah.
it belonged originally. So honestly, good for them.
I remember there was other problems with the game animators. Okay. I found his name out. I found out his name. It's Jonathan Cooper. That was his name. Who put out the tweet about it?
Okay.
He said that he left. The original reason he left is that they were withholding his final paycheck because they wanted him to sign additional paperwork because of the production go being a little unethical, going 45 plus hours in the week.
Right.
And he literally denied it, saying, "No, this is probably illegal. I'm not doing this." Which, yeah, that's a fair thing to do. Like, why would you?
Right.
There's no point in signing these documents. Just gonna force me something like that, and I'll keep reading through it. So, the story animator, because he was one of them, he was working an average of 46 plus hours a week, which that is awful. Like actually horrible. That's about 9 hours of the day. And then
I'm sorry, 48 hours of the week.
46 plus hours of the week.
But is that with or without overtime though? Because I feel like that's
I
like
believe
really
it's without overtime because they're
If it's without overtime, that's not okay. Because if it's with overtime, it's totally understandable. Like, I would understand if like
It's-
they're going through
I
stuff.
remember there was something
And
there was something I saw about this. There's a reason they don't have to do overpay because it's like a private it's like a creative company. Like things that are creative like that, they don't have to do overtime.
really,
There's something with it. I don't remember for sure. I remember seeing something about it. I can't find the exact thing, but I'll keep
right,
reading through his thing. So then, yeah, one of his friends was overworked so bad that he had to go to the hospital. And even though he had like over half a year to go make this game, because back when the game was shown off in 2019 demo, apparently they were that was one of their worst crunches, them trying to get a demo out because no gameplay was ever revealed of the game. All we ever got was that little E3 teaser in 2018, if I'm correct.
right,
And then if I keep going, and he literally said like Naughty Dog is no longer Naughty Dog, and now they are just known for their awful crunch time in LA. That's one of the worst companies to work at. He even says it was near impossible to hire seasoned contract game animators to close out the project, even though they were filmed up with film animators because it's a very cinematic game, so they wanted film people to make it look good. But still, that was not going to help with the game.
right, right.
Let me see, contract work. This guy was on about 2 to 3 projects too. While he was paid overtime, he never got any kind of benefits. He received no benefits whatsoever. So like no healthcare or any of that stuff, even though they were treating him so terribly.
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty much what he summarizes there. He goes on a little bit about how Naughty Dog's been terrible and everything. But yeah, that's a summary of everything they did, and Jesus, terrible.
It's sad. It's just really sickening.
It's just sad watching these companies fall like this. Like I know, John, you're a big fan of Blizzard because you love
I love.
you
Well, you
love.
know, I grew up with like people that like were playing WoW, and then eventually I got into it myself, right, growing up.
Yeah.
And not only that, like if like first it was that, and then Overwatch, and like those were like great games, and like Diablo, it's like was a really good one too. And they just kept like Hearthstone was like something I used to watch like growing up, like within like YouTube. I mean, like there's so many like things that have happened with their company that like they do like things go wrong in a sense just because of like their ideals that they're trying to do within the company, just in terms of like financial like improvement on their end, and just trying to get the most bang for their buck. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter to them, I feel like, what happens when they like hurt people, right? Like when they had
Yeah.
like the whole Hong Kong situation, like that was something that I felt like they like overreacted on something so crazy for them, with like that one professional Hearthstone player that was playing at the time.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I remember that.
and
Yeah.
they took him and they took it out on him for like maybe no reason. They could have given him like a smaller. They could have given him like a warning for doing something like that, but instead they like penalized him for like so many things, and just over the incident itself, which is kind of stupid. I understand that like Blizzard is a multi like it's like there's like there's like multiple offices for their company,
Yeah.
and one of them even isn't like Seoul, I believe. But like even with that being the like, case, like the actions that they like take for like a lot of these issues like never end up being the correct options, and it's just like it's like I wish I knew who was internally in these companies making these decisions, because they could do so much better, you know.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's somebody from like the higher up. It's like somebody from like, let's say like it's like the CEO of like the Seoul office or whatever the case might be, right? And like they're just like, this is terrible, like this is what we're gonna do. Like the fact that I see this is what I believe, and then everyone like follows them in the chain. Now I'm not blaming like if that is the case, like that person, because I don't know who exactly it was that was they lashing out, at least against this one person in particular, but like that's how easy it probably could be to kind of like shut down somebody within like like at least on the company's level. And it's really sickening, like just how fast things can go like from 0 to 100 really quick.
Yeah. Like another thing I feel with that is that Naughty Dog. I literally grew up on every single Naughty Dog game. I started with like every one of them except for Crash Bandicoot. Yeah, like I played
Right.
like I started with Jack and Daxter. Uncharted came out and I fell in love with it immediately. And then The Last of Us came out. I was just I literally grew up and I was like I want to work for this company. I remember saying that to myself as soon as I sat there and I want to become a game developer. I sat there and I said I want to work at Naughty Dog. That's my
No, I you're right.
that was my dream destination for the longest
Right.
time. And then as soon as The Last of Us 2 happened, I just I lost all hope. I just said I could barely bring myself to work there. It was just
You're right about that. Yeah, that's a feeling I have too, especially with like Blizzard, but probably not even just Blizzard. Like I guess like in my case, Riot Games is like also a very like big part of my life,
yeah.
just because like I kind of grew up on League of Legends from like middle school with my friends, and then it like in high school I met like way more people that like were playing the game. You know, a couple years later, I'm in college, and I'm like, wow, like I could always like maybe see myself like I always like deep down was like I wish I could like be developing like that game, you know, and just like
Yeah.
improving at a company like that. And then I think within my time at like St. John's, um, I remember there being the lawsuit that they had where it was there was like I think it was like the over sexualization of women at Riot Games, and they had, but like the thing with that though is that like immediately when it happened, I believe, or whatever the case was, they went straight into like a lawsuit, and ever since then, I don't think anything's happened with Riot Games. But like that was one that was kind of like, ooh, like
Yeah.
that shouldn't have happened, but okay. But like this, and then like a lot of these, I think this is like the same time like the Naughty Dog one happened. I don't remember the Ubisoft one that you put in that you're like
The
mentioning.
Ubisoft has been new, I think. I'm not sure. I remember something happening
The
at Ubisoft at
Ubisoft
one
one
point.
happened a while ago.
Did it? I thought it was recent.
It happened a year or two ago.
Jeez.
It's probably around the same time that this Riot one happened because that's where I
I know,
remember
like
that
these
happened.
all happened around the same time because everyone just started coming out about it. Like they just,
Right, there was a very
Yeah.
big like
everyone just had
movement
enough.
for it.
Like I know some of these, companies, they've cleaned up their act. Riot Games after that, they cleaned up a bit. I heard that they cleaned up.
Riot
Right?
Games cleaned up very well.
They cleaned
In
up
the case,
very well.
but they've
Now,
cleaned up. They have so many different things going on at their company though too.
yeah,
Like if we're talking about like let's say like racial like discrimination or whatever in the company, like they immediately have that fixed up. There's like entire articles that are like on LinkedIn about like you know in like February like it was Black History Month. They had maybe at least every single day, or not every single day, but like I remember going on LinkedIn and I was seeing a post about um these African American people working at Riot Games and their story and just like they're kind of like they're like how they see like the inclusion and stuff within the company and how important it is to them. So like that's like really like they took their piece of like the history, right, and they kind of let it be set in, and they let these like people that they have within their company like kind of express that sort of the inclusion that exists within their company itself. But
yeah,
I don't think this ever was the case with the women, and then eventually this probably all got fixed out. But it's good for them that like they've succeeded in the case. But this also it's like the same thing with this company. This company's enormous,
yeah,
and at least with the case of how things are going now, like there's so much passion in terms of the workplace and everything else, and just everything that's coming out of their company. So now that it's not, I wouldn't even consider it Riot Games anymore. I would really just consider it like Riot Studios, just because of how much stuff they have released within the past like couple of years is
yeah.
kind of good. And I'm looking forward to see where they take the company in a sense, and hopefully we get to see great things from it. I guess Arcane, like when they make a season 2 for it, and this fighting game they have taught they're gonna eventually do, and
Yeah,
this
Project L.
this MMO that they're gonna eventually do too. Like they have a place for games for everybody that want to be included within this community, like in their communities, And I feel like it's like even like this is the card game, like it's acknowledged. I think that it's not like a very big like cash grabber for them or anything, but it's like they've done the game, and the work towards the game itself is more of like a passion product, or like passion projects in the sense that like they know that they're not probably profiting as much as they want to be, but like even with that being the case, they're still providing the functions from the game itself, because I mean this is something that you could probably do on your phone, right? This is
Yeah,
something that you can do on your computer. It's like there's different areas that like people will be playing this game on the go, whatever the case might be. So there's like many uses for it. And even with it not being as profitable as like let's say League of Legends, or like let's just say like the viewership of like their show on Arcane, it's just as good.
yeah. Because one thing I'm also thinking with it, with other companies like Naughty Dog, because I know Naughty Dog now, they've
Oh, you
announced that
went
there's
mid.
at least 3
Oh,
different
you
game
went mid.
Yes, I went mid. There's at least 3
Why?
different.
You said you were going bot.
Oh, I didn't. Did I? Oh, oof.
Yeah, you
There's,
did.
there's at least 3 different game projects going on at Naughty Dog, so maybe they're gonna try to go down the same route as Riot Games and clean themselves up. But it's currently not really sure. Hopefully they do, but I'm not sure.
I mean, I don't know. Time will tell. I feel like, and if time won't tell, then these lawsuits will at least.
Yeah.
So we have that going for it. There's not really much else I can really say about many of the companies that have like mistreatments, though. There's not much else I really know in the areas of the mistreatments. I feel like these are the most recent ones within the past couple of years, though.
Yeah, these are just the
So
most recent ones.
these are the most recent ones, though, and I haven't really seen much else on the rise, but which is a good sign. So that's
Yeah.
good. Anything that you guys
At
want to
least,
maybe
at
add
least
in there?
anything like sexual content like that, where they've been doing that. But I know there's like other stuff where a common practice with many companies is that they would basically take people's ideas, like especially like new kids getting into the game industry, where they just hire them and now they take their ideas and use them in future games without even crediting them, because either they leave the company or they just see them as like, oh, they're like new, it doesn't matter, it's fine. Which, you know, that's pretty messed up, as you can imagine.
I mean, that's messed up in a sense, but I also feel like that this is the case with a lot of these companies, where like they're gonna take the ownership of ideas that these individuals come up with, and create the. Because like, let's be for real, as much as like this person has this idea, they probably can't do it on their own. So, being a part of the company itself, like the idea gets credit. You know, in a sense, it becomes like the IP of that company, right? And
No, I mean by like they come up with the idea, but then the like project manager, like a director or a manager takes over the project, not them. When it should be them, because they were the ones who, you know, came up with the idea. Like that's
you know what? I
like,
can understand what you're saying. I mean, I just feel like there's like a sense of like, while they're okay, as much as like you're right, there's like the ideas enlisted in like their head, they see the vision of it, but like then someone takes over, right? And that person taking over doesn't have the same envisionment that this one person, the original idea owner had,
yeah.
right? And I can understand that, but like, I feel like, I feel like that's like a tough like topic for me to like really give a good basis on. But I feel like if they had this idea and they knew it was like this very successful thing, I can like, and like, yeah, then like someone takes over it. That's like kind of scummy. I feel like that's like really messed up. But like I also feel like there's a part of like your contracts that you'll sign that like this is like meant, like these ideas that people come up with, like, and they might be discredited for it, and that's just really terrible. But I feel like it's just a common issue that we have to like see nowadays, and there's not much to talk about it because at least they have their job still, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like one example that like with the Get Club. Like, yeah, I'm the president of it and everything, but this project that we're working on right now, I'm still leaving it in the hands of Ayana because it was all her idea and she was the one who made the whole demo on her own. Like, I'm still letting her control it. Like, because it's her vision, it's not mine, you know. Like, I'm just here to help her and help her get it going.
I mean,
that's how I feel like it should be. Like, the one in charge should help the person, but not just not take it over and be like, yeah, it's all me. So yeah, John,
but yeah, Paul, when you're thinking about it, right? Like, here's the thing that you gotta think is like how a higher up at like a company like this would see, right? They see that like they're gonna probably be like better off in their end that they take over a project like this, and then they become the one that gets credited for it and probably gets like the salary boost or whatever it is, right? Or they probably get like compensated well for it. But like, it's just because someone comes up to it, maybe they don't know how to utilize it, right? And yeah, this is like totally not the right thing to do, right? I feel like a thing about being human and being just a good person is that you give the opportunity for somebody else to have the chance of their spotlight, you know?
Yeah.
And kind of like in a sense of sharing the glory. There's like this case, I just saw it on LinkedIn somewhere, I forgot where it was. But there was a CEO for a company. I don't remember what the company's name was or what exactly they do. But he was like, I'm going to, like, the CEO of the company said, I'm going to take like a significant pay cut to make sure that everybody gets $70,000, like, base salary, like at, I'm assuming like associate level. And apparently like everybody was talking crap about them and saying that this is never going to work. You're going to like fail. But with this being the case, and like the leadership that someone has and doing the right thing, apparently the company's revenue tripled, and productivity has never been better with this company. I don't remember which one it is, and I really wish I had the information.
I
or the
feel like
LinkedIn
I've
post
seen it
to it.
before. I might have seen
But
it.
this was on this was on LinkedIn. Like, this is like my top like post that I kind of saw like on my feed. And to me, it was like kind of like stand out. It's like these are like what like good people doing the right thing, like people who know how to lead by example and do a good job at it are the reasons why you have such responsible people taking over positions at like a company like this, and
Yeah.
they do the right things. But like, I feel like at like companies where it's like gaming involved, like there's not much. I mean, there's moments of these things that exist, but like, it's not
It's
as
not commonplace.
it's not as
very rare.
transparency with these opportunities is not openly possible within, because it's just more or less like greed. I feel like is just a major issue that ends up being the case, and you know, it just that's just like why. I mean, your company could be like so much better, but like just maximizing your terms of like income for the company and just the investments that you'll get from your investors is just
Yeah.
I feel like a bottom line that a lot of these companies are trying to do nowadays. And
It's always about the bottom line.
it's always, I mean, the bottom line is really just that if they have no money, they're not going to be anywhere. Like, they're all going to be jobless, They won't be remembered as anything. These people will just be done. So, like, this is what happens.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It's just terrible. Because I remember you saying something about the contract. I feel like that they should put it in the contract that if they make up any ideas and bring it up, like, it will not be theirs. Like, for example,
Right.
like Saint John's intellectual property, like that's a big thing that like Hendrix has mentioned to us. Be like, hey, you should be careful with the intellectual property and everything. Like he said.
Oh,
like,
wait, is this brought up within St. John's though? They have like an intellectual property.
yeah,
like
they
that?
have a whole thing. So it's like they let you know, like, hey, if you use any of Saint John's stuff, it's not like any of their licenses on their like Unity, any other programs like the Adobe stuff, like it's not ours to monetize, it's theirs. Like they get
Well,
a,
I mean,
they get a
yeah.
part of the profits. Like if they were to put that in the contract, then yeah, okay, that's fine. You could put that in for the employees so that when they come in they know about this. But a lot of companies, they don't even let them know. They're just like, oh yeah, give us your ideas, trust me, definitely good idea. And
This
then
is, but see, this is why, but like it's like so easy for people just not to want to read the paperwork, right? I feel like there's reasons that like, if you're like smart and you take the time and you read through these like fine prints and you see what is given to you, right? Then you know what you're getting yourself into at least, and you could be aware for these things. But people, they just see paperwork, I imagine, with like this, where it's just like, here's like 50 things you just need to sign here, here, here. But like, what
like,
am I signing here? Like, what is this for?
like
What
people
am I
should be more attentive to, because it's literally your job you're signing for. It's not.
I mean, yeah, it's you're kind of like almost signing away like your independent like thoughts, and
Creative
stuff
freedom.
too, and your creative like ideas. It sucks, and this is probably like in every company though too. And
Yeah.
with it's just being that the entertainment industry and the video game like industry itself being such like highly profitable areas, like there's gonna be so much going for it. So you're gonna have people who want to be the top, and they're not really gonna let anyone else stop it in a sense. But it's kind of like a feast or famine, like in a sense, or like, and this is probably like in a lot of industries too. But like the mighty will thrive, and the rest are gonna be like just fighting for scraps. And if that, and being that can't be the case, it really is just like,
Yeah.
it's just really demoralizing that want to get into a field
Is
that
that
like you might have grown up on and like thought this was really cool. I would love to go into this as a career, and then it's like, oh my god, this is what it actually it's like. It's like, jeez.
yeah? It's just there's two kinds of mindsets out there. Now, I'm not gonna say which one's the right mindset or the wrong mindset. That's up to people to decide. But one mindset that people always have, like especially with games, like growing up, like, wow, these make a lot of money. This would be a good way to get money. That's one way to look at it. But then some people look at it and be like, wow, these games are so cool. Like people like this was so emotional for me. I want to go and make games like this that really pique the player's interest and really get them invested and get them immersed in the game and get their emotions going. Even if it might not make a huge giant profit, it's still something memorable and enjoyable.
Right. I mean, there's plenty of games like that where there's like, they looked great, but they never hit the mark, right?
Yeah.
And that's just part of gaming. I feel like though in general too, in the sense of like being a creator, you might make a game and it looks amazing in a sense. All right, this is gonna sound so stupid, but what's that game that came out? That was a Square Enix game. That the ball in Wonderland or whatever it is.
Balan
Ball
Wonderworld.
in Wonderworld?
Yeah, or whatever the game is called, right? So this game, like, if you look at the actual like art style for what like the
Like,
animated cutscenes were, like that whole like intro
like
sequence,
it's beautiful.
it looks really good.
It's
It looks like it's literally like someone they spent like all their money in that, but like they ruined the game, right?
yeah.
And
I-
like as like I don't even know. Like it's like you could take pride in that, but like then you see your game flop so bad, and it's just like one of the worst games of all time, and then you realize like, what am I doing with my life? And it's just like, geez.
I
And
remember
like you gotta
we've
live
seen
for
it
like the
before.
moments. Yeah, we see.
Like we looked up what it was that like apparently the guy who made the game, who does the art and everything, like that's his art style, but he straight up said to the company like, "Hey, I don't know how to write a story. Just a heads up." And they're like, "Oh, you'll be fine." So as a result, you get this really crappy, mediocre story. That was
Exactly.
meanwhile it looks amazing.
Right, like they really can like if you only were to read the book by its cover and just see like the trail like that intro trailer to like actually get into this game before you even get into the gameplay of it and get really into the meat and like the potatoes, you really kind of see like you'd be like, wow, this game looks amazing. I can't wait to play this game by Square Enix because they're such a great company, right? And then you go and you play this game, it's like, what am I playing? Why am I
Yeah.
playing like a jank at? Like, why am I playing like a really bad looking Harvest Moon or whatever this is? They walk around like it's Harvest Moon. It's like a bad Sonic game. It's just, it's like how could a game like this happen or exist? And
I
I
think-
think it's just because of just like the lack of
Lack of communication. That's what
like,
I think it is.
well,
Like,
no, I feel like there's just a lot of like a lack of like just like in a sense maybe like, well, yeah, communication is important, right? But like if they know if a game's gonna be a flop, just don't make it, right? Like there's it's like I guess I'm about to say like Fallout 76. Like Fallout 76 like came out and I remember like being told that it was like a super really like awkward and like bad game and
Yeah.
no one should be playing it, right? There's just lots of games out there that come out and they are flops. And
I think with
like,
that game,
No
though,
Man's
it
Sky.
was they were with Fallout 76. I think they were just too ambitious, and that's what happened.
Well, yeah, right. You probably would think like ambition would be great. I mean, look at No Man's Sky, right? Ambition of like No Man's Sky day one. It was like, okay, where are the features? But then at least the people who make the game come back and or who are making the game are like, okay, we're gonna add like 1,000,000 quality of life updates and just like all these different content updates just to make the game not what it was like day one.
Yeah, like
Right.
like No Man's Sky is now like honestly, I will admit, it's got like one of the best games to play. It's super fun and enjoyable, and every one of their promises that they said before, they delivered on it. The game is what they promised now, like
Right.
100%, and it's crazy that they've gone so far. When I remember when they first started, it was only like 10 people working on a game. Like that was it. That was their whole team, just 10 people.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Okay,
now they've grown and everything.
We almost didn't get the Rift Herald.
These are great things though. This is what you want in your company.
Yeah. Some people just don't understand that. It's just, they just don't have the passion. They're just like, what gets the easiest buck?
I feel like passion is it's like a hard. I mean, it's not like that hard of a thing to find in industries, but like finding passions for the right reasons is like what I would say is like a hard thing to find right now,
Yeah.
like in certain industries. And maybe in the same case would be like gaming industry. But I feel like a lot of people within our generation, knowing that like games were like so great growing up, they want to probably bring those kind of like feelings back to like a younger generation or to like whomever might be a gamer. So I think just at least in my perspective, just that's what we're hoping for in the future, right?
Yeah.
Especially hopefully these graduates of college that go to like these very good like technical schools for gaming development. So
We can only hope for the future of what the generation brings with the companies see themselves, maybe see them in roles of leadership and just better the company. That's all we hope. I don't know. You guys got anything more to say about this?
No.
I'm gonna say honestly, there's not much else I can really say. If anything else, Kate, you got anything you want to say, or?
No.
Well, I guess that kind of wraps things up then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think we'll call it. We'll call it for an episode. All right. So next week, or next episode rather, let me rephrase that. So next episode, we're planning on doing an episode about NFTs with gaming, and now that they're becoming a major thing where companies are trying to sell, like, oh, you can buy your NFT for your game and such things like that. But
Yeah.
But
Now
we'll go into that more. That's a
yeah,
big growing
being
thing.
that these NFTs are being seen
Copy
as.
playtime.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that.
Oh,
Too.
that's a weird thing. Yeah,
That's a major one.
That's a weird thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
We'll talk more
bring it
about
up
that
a little
next
bit.
episode. But for now, guys, thank you for watching, everyone. Have a good night or good morning whenever you're watching this. I don't know.
See you next time.
All right. See y'all later.
Bye.